Hello everyone and welcome to Rajput Jain and Associate. Today we will be discussing about the various aspects related to trust. So starting with, it is really important to know what a trust means. Trust is basically an arrangement where there are owners who are known as the trustor, and they transfer their assets to other people known as the trustees, who in return use such assets for the benefit of some third persons known as the beneficiaries. So having discussed about the meaning of trust, we now come on to the types of trust. Trust can be of two types, namely a public trust and a private trust. So the first one is a public trust. So as the name suggests, it serves the public at large. Thus, the beneficiaries are unidentifiable. Public trust can be further classified into public charitable trust and public religious trust, and these trusts differ in the way they work and the objects for which they work. The second one is a private trust. It serves the identified beneficiaries, which mainly consist of families and friends. Now, in order to form a trust, there are certain conditions which the trustees must comply with. First of all, a trust is required to have at least 3 members and a maximum of 21 members. Trustees must decide the name of the trust in advance. The registered office of the trust should also be decided before incorporating a trust. After this, the objects for which the trust would be working be formulated and the same shall be drafted on a stamp paper. Then, the board of trustees be constituted and shall include the founder trustee secretary and the treasurer. So once the trust is in compliance with all the above mentioned conditions, they shall follow the following steps in order to register their trust. So first of all, the applicant is required to reserve the name of the trust and ensure that such name shall not fall within the restricted list of names that has been provided under the Emblems and Names Act 1950. After reserving the name, the trustees are required to draft the trust deed. So basically, trust deed is a primary and the most essential document which provides for the objects of forming a trust. So in order to formulate a trust deed, there are certain contents which is to be provided in that. So now we will be discussing about the contents of trust deed. So the trust deed is required to state the following clauses like the name of the trust, the registered office of the trust, area of operation, the objects for which the trust would be working, details of the author of the trust, the corpus or the asset with which the trust would be starting, the details of the board of the trustees, the quorum for which the board would be required to meet and the terms and the tenure for the board members, then the power and the functions of the managing trustees and other trustees, closure and amendment of the trust deed and the applicability of the act. And once the trust deed is formulated, the same is to be produced on the stamp paper and the applicant is required to provide the details of the settlor and the trustees of the said trust. Next comes the preparation of memorandum of association of the trust, which will act as its character certificate. Once all the documents are prepared, the applicant shall make the payment of the requisite fees to the government and file the application for registration. After this, the applicant is advised to collect a copy of trust deed and deposit the same with the registrar in order to get the same registered. After submitting the application and the required documents, the registrar will verify the same and if found appropriate, the registrar will return the original registered copy of the trust deed and will issue a certificate of registration in the name of the trust. So as discussed in the above process, there are certain documents which the applicant is required to submit along with the application form. So these documents are first of all the trust deed, which we have already discussed before. Next comes the self-attested copy of the proof of identity of the settlor, which can be their passport, voter ID card, driving license or any other photo ID. Next comes the self-attested copy of the proof of identity of each trustee, which can be their Aadhaar card, passport, voter ID card or their driving license. Next comes the PAN card of all the members, the proof of the registered office address of the trust, which can be their trust registration certificate or any of the utility bill, that can be their electricity or water bill, and also a no objection certificate be received from the landlord. Now once a trust is registered, there are certain benefits which the society, donors and the trust itself can reap. So some of these benefits are as follows. First of all, the trust works towards the charitable objectives. Also, the income of the trust be exempted in certain circumstances. Apart from this, a trust provides support and help towards the poorer section of the society and help in upliftment of the society. Next comes the legal recognition under the law, that since a trust is registered under Indian Trust Act 1962, it will be safe from any legal hindrance. Also, a trust can act as a mode of preservation of family wealth. A trust may be utilized to own specific asset such as land or an interest in a family-based company which would not be suitable or practicable for a settler to split between individuals. The usage of a trust allowed such individuals to benefit from the asset despite the fact that they do not own them. A trust is also in receipt of certain grants from various government organizations, and a tax exemption is also provided to the donors. There is a better asset management and lesser compliance burden on trusts. At last, trusts are compulsorily required to obtain certificate under Section 12A and ATG from the Income Tax Department. Now, under Section 12A, certificate enables exemption to the trust in respect of payment of taxes on their surplus income. Apart from this, the ATG certificate allows the donors of these trusts to avail certain amount of deduction from their taxable income in respect of the amount donated to these trusts. So this was all about trust and its registration process. For any help required, do contact Rajput Jain and Associates. Thank you.